Brilliant kid inventors who changed our lives. When we start to worry about the fate of the world, along comes a new generation of innovators who are making big changes in the way things are done. From bioluminescent windows to planting wetlands to prevent cholera outbreaks, these kids redefine what it means to think outside the box, and it's safe to say that most of these kids are just getting warmed up. We often think of children as these aimless creatures just running around and possessing all this energy with no outlet. What we sometimes forget is that children possess an unmatched sense of wonder and possibility. To them, the world feels endless and beautiful. When you don't have an outlet for all that wonder, it can admittedly be disastrous. But when you do, greatness can occur that rivals even that of adults. You may be surprised to discover that a lot of inventions that we know and love today were hatched in the minds of children. Here are some of them. Frank Epperson, Popsicle. 11-year-old Frank Epperson invented what we have come to know as a popsicle. It was a winter's eve in 1905 when Frank decided to mix a frozen concoction containing soda water powder and water. He accidentally left the drink outside overnight with a stirring stick in the glass. The mixture froze solid and the first popsicle was born. Though this was where it began, the treat didn't become famous until 1922 when Epperson gave it out at a fireman's ball. He originally patented the idea under Epsicle, but changed it after his children started calling it a popsicle. So, funnily enough, kids came up with both the idea and the name. George Nissen, Trampoline. George invented the trampoline in 1930 at the age of 16. He came up with the idea after seeing trapeze artists drop into a net at the end of their performance. He thought the act would be more exciting if they kept bouncing around, so he began working in his parents' garage. The original invention had a metal frame and a canvas stretched over it, but as he got older he perfected the design with the nylon canvas, giving it more bounce. Louis Braille. Louis caught a severe eye infection when he was 3 years old, which rendered him blind. For years he struggled to trace his finger over raised letters and had a lot of difficulty with it. When he was 12, he learned of a method of silent communication used by the French military. He simplified that process and suddenly he was able to read a whole lot easier. He first presented his work in 1924. Today, Braille is used by the blind community worldwide. Albert Sadaka, Christmas lights. Prior to electric Christmas lights, people would simply use candles to decorate their Christmas trees. Believe it or not, people initially had more difficulty trusting the safety of electric lights than open flames. Nevertheless, public trust started to sway toward the electric lights, but they were ridiculously high-priced. That is, until Albert came along and invented a version of electric lights that were much more affordable. He used his parents' lighting company to produce them in 1925, and now, because of him, they've become a staple of Christmas tradition. Chester Greenwood, Earmuffs. It was 1873, and Chester Greenwood was just 15 years old when his ears got painfully cold one day while ice skating. He found that wrapping a scarf around his head didn't help much, so he decided to find a better solution. Greenwood designed a wire frame and had his grandmother to sew beaver skins to it, thereby making the first pair of earmuffs. He ended up patenting the invention by age 19 and even selling them to soldiers during the First World War. Joseph Armand Bombardier, Snowmobile. Joseph was always interested in mechanics, and in 1922, at the young age of 15, he invented the snowmobile. According to Mental Floss, he mounted the engine of a Ford Model T to 4 runners, with a handmade propeller perched on the back. The original model of the invention traveled half a mile across the snow before finally stopping. He continued to tinker with the invention, and by 1959 he had created the Skidoo, as known as the world's first ultralight snowmobile model. Ben Franklin, Swim Flippers. We typically know Ben Franklin for his later-in-life accomplishments, but did you know he was actually a child inventor? In the early 1700s, at age 11, he realized he could cut through the water more easily while swimming if he had more surface area through which to push. His original design was handheld fins made out of oval-shaped planks with holes in the middle for his hand and feet. K.K. Gregory, Wristies. At age 10, K.K. Gregory was playing outside one day in the cold. Her wrists began to hurt from the cold, so she decided to find a way to keep both her hands and wrists warm during the winter. In 1994, she invented wristies, fuzzy sleeves that can be worn underneath gloves to protect your wrists from the cold. She worked with her mum to get the idea off the ground, and now the product is sold worldwide. David Cohen of Dallas. David Cohen's big idea as an 8th grader is the perfect example of how clever and creative kids can be when they are allowed to think outside the box. Cohen was learning about earthworms in science class when he wondered if anyone had ever built a robotic earthworm. Doing so, he reasoned, might have some useful applications, namely for finding victims after a fire, earthquake, or flood. He built and wrote the code behind a prototype robot that could be used to squeeze into a small or dangerous location where humans or search dogs would be unable to go. By loading the robot with heat-sensing technology, GPS, and other life-saving programs, Cohen's robot could be used to find and rescue people safely and efficiently. Robert Patch, Toy trucks. One of the very youngest inventors was Robert Patch. At just 6 years old, Robert Patch was granted the patent for the toy truck. He made the very first toy truck out of cardboard boxes and bottle caps, and his invention was meant to be taken apart and refashioned into different types of trucks, like a very early transformer. Nikita Rafikov. Nikita Rafikov of Evans, Georgia. Nikita may be young, but he has big plans for the future, and he has the ideas to get him there. The 11-year-old developed a way to embed GFP, or green fluorescent protein, into windows to create efficient glass and lighting. GFP is the protein found in certain jellyfish that creates those cool bioluminescence effects seen in nature photography. By embedding this protein into windows, Rafikov has found a way to light homes without the use of electricity. Anna Humphrey, Bacteria Removal Calculator. Anna Humphrey of Alexandria, Virginia. I'm not sure what's more impressive about Anna Humphrey, her mad math skills or her uncanny ability to utilize them in real-life scenarios. Humphrey has developed a calculator. The wetlands are needed for bacteria removal calculator, nicknamed WANBRC, to calculate how much wetland is needed to keep waterways clean in threatened areas and prevent deadly cholera outbreaks, particularly after natural disasters such as earthquakes that disturb regular waterway access. Mark Leshinsky, self-disinfecting protective garment. When Mark Leshinsky was just 8 years old, he heard about the Ebola epidemic on TV. Even though he didn't fully understand it, he felt curious and wanted to help. He learned that healthcare workers were getting sick while helping patients because their protective suits could spread the virus. So he came up with the idea of a special suit that cleans itself. His invention uses a system that sprays disinfectant all over the suit, killing germs before it's taken off. Mark kept making it better, and when he was 10, he got a patent for his invention in 2016. Gary Leshinsky, a watch for allergies. Following in the footsteps of his elder brother, Gary Leshinsky developed the A-Watch for allergies at the age of 8, presenting a groundbreaking invention with a deeply personal connection. Gary's invention, the A-Watch, stemmed from his personal encounter with an unexpected allergic reaction. It not only alerts parents, but also includes a life-saving drug injector, addressing challenges for children and individuals with speech disabilities in expressing symptoms. This innovation, born out of personal necessity, aims to fill a crucial gap in current allergy management. The young innovator has garnered several accolades, including being inducted into the National Gallery for America's Young Inventor in 2016, securing the Thomas Edison Innovation Award in the same year, and receiving the Innovation in Electronics Award from Arrow Electronics at the National Innovation Convention and Entrepreneurship Expo in DC. Gary is also a nationally ranked chess player in the US. Kenneth Shinozuka, Alzheimer's Alert System. Alzheimer's disease is the fastest growing threat to human health, and its symptoms not only affect the patients but also their loved ones. Kenneth Shinozuka knows this all too well. He remembers being 4 years old, walking in a park in Japan with his grandfather, when his grandfather suddenly got lost. It was then that his family learned that his grandfather has Alzheimer's. Kenneth needed a way to know when his grandfather wandered out of his bed in the middle of the night. So, at age 15, Kenneth invented a sock with a pressure sensor that, when activated by a step, would send a message to the smartphone of his grandfather's caretakers. Not only was Kenneth successful in taking care of his grandfather, but his invention won first prize at the $50,000 Scientific American Science in Action Award.